Hey everyone, I'm Shrishti Modi and I'm going to talk about a smarter web with semantic HTML5. This is the fundamental, often overlooked skill that separates a junior developer from a pro. Why? Because semantic HTML is a key to achieving stellar SEO and superior accessibility. I know the basics are important, so here's our complete roadmap. We'll start with a detailed introduction to HTML5 and semantic HTML itself. Then we'll spend crucial time dissecting the difference between non-semantic and semantic elements in HTML5, looking at why we are relying on div is no longer enough. Next, we'll move into the core structure, web page layout with semantic tags, showing you the industry standard blueprint. We'll dedicate separate deep sections to the two biggest benefits: how semantic HTML fuels SEO and its critical role in accessibility with tangible examples. After it, we'll move to the code with a practical code walkthrough. Finally, we'll discuss the long term advantages and future of semantic HTML before wrapping up with a solid conclusion. So, our first slide is an introduction to HTML5. Every great building needs a strong foundation. On the internet, that foundation is HTML. It is the backbone of all web pages. But we aren't using the HTML from the 90s. We are using HTML5, which was officially released in 2014 and represents the modern standard, a massive leap forward in both functionality and philosophy. If you look at the evolution timeline, you can see HTML4 had a long run, but HTML5 brought a radical change. What specifically did it bring? First and foremost, the new features included the very core of our topic: semantic tags like header, article, and footer. These weren't just new boxes, they were new, meaningful labels. Second, it added robust multimedia support with native tags like video, audio, and the powerful drawing surface, Canvas. This freed us from relying on third party plugins like Flash. Third, it introduced browser APIs, think location, or enhanced offline storage provided by local storage. But the true shift was in its focus. HTML5 was a declaration that the web needed to prioritize four things: clean code, better SEO, robust accessibility, and unquestioned mobile responsiveness. This all stems from the principle of semantics. Let's define what that word semantic truly means in a developer context. So, what does it mean when we say an element is semantic? Simply put, a semantic element is a tag that carries meaning that is understood by both browsers and developers. It describes the nature of its content. Think of it this way: your job as a developer is to structure content, and your HTML should separate content from presentation. The tag itself should be descriptive. Let's look at some examples. The header, it isn't just a box. It explicitly denotes the introduction navigational content at the top of the page or within a section. The footer is explicitly for the bottom of the page, containing things like copyright and contact info. An article isn't just some text, it's an independent blog, news item, content that could stand alone by and be syndicated. The greater advantage of this approach is that your HTML becomes self descriptive. This clarity is powerful. The browser instantly knows what the element purpose is. On the right, you can see how the header and footer immediately frame the content. This clarity what powers screen readers and search algorithms. Now let's solidify this concept by comparing it to the old way of building a page. This slide is your cheat sheet for the semantic revolution. The goal is to move entirely away from the generic, non semantic elements and embrace the power of meaning. On the semantic side, we have the workhorse tags like div, span. Their main problem, they do not convey any conventional meaning by themselves. A browser sees a div and says, okay, it's a box. That's it. It's harder to understand their purpose unless you rely entirely on custom IDs or classes like ID in a navigation. But that's just a developer convention, not a built in meaning. Consequently, search engines can't easily interpret their purpose and they provide no accessibility advantage. Now, the semantic element side. Tags like header, footer, article, and nav are powerful because they clarify, describe their purpose right in the code. This makes them easier for developers and browser to understand their structure. The benefits cascade from there. First, SEO benefit. The semantic structure helps search engines map content sections for better ranking. Accessibility. It's crucial for assistive technology. It helps improve screen reader navigation because the tools know exactly where the main content starts or the where the navigation is. In short, semantic gives your content innate context. It's the difference between a house built from generic cardboard boxes and a house built with clearly labeled rooms. Let's see that house blueprint now. The semantic layout is the professional modern way to structure any web page. This diagram is the blueprint you should use for every project. Let's map out the structured examples. First, the header is for the page title, logo, and typically contains the main navigation bar. This is your site's entryway. Second, the main element encapsulates the content that is unique to the current page. This is usually where you place your primary article and section. Third, a site tag is for content that is related to the main content but separate from it. It adds related links or a brief bio. It's aside from the main focus. And the last is footer, holds the legal and background information, contact info, copyright, and sitemap links. Notice the visual cleanliness. This structure isn't just visually pleasing, it creates a cleaner div only layout. The explicit use of tags improves readability for readers, developers working on the code, for web browsers consuming the code, and SEO crawlers. When every section has a clear, agreed upon meaning, the entire web functions better. Now, let's dig into exactly how this benefits users with accessibility needs. Semantic HTML and accessibility with example. This is arguably the most vital role of semantic HTML. Accessibility is about making web usable for everyone, including users who rely on assistive technologies like screen readers. Semantic tags are the necessary framework for an inclusive web design. Here's why it is so crucial. Without semantic HTML, the screen reader is forced to read everything in order. It sees a series of divs and just spits out a stream of text, which is confusing and often unusable for someone who can't visually scan the page. And with semantic HTML, the tags give the screen reader navigational cues. The tool can announce navigation start, main content begins, and allows the user to skip directly to the relevant section. Let's see the practical impact with these simple examples. Main is translated as main content starts here. Nav is translated as navigation menu. Footer is translated as end of content. Okay. This provides landmarks that are essential for navigation. Imagine navigating a building with no signs, and that's a non semantic page. Now, imagine one where every room is labeled. That's a semantic page. And by using right tags, you are not just coding, you are ensuring universal access to your content. Let's shift gears to the other powerhouse benefits, search engine optimization SEO. Search engines are designed to understand text, and semantic tags help bots to understand page content far more effectively than generic containers. When Google or Bing crawls your site, what are the benefits they see? First, better indexing of your content because the structure is clear. Second, clear recognition of menus, articles, main content, allowing the search engine to categorize your page accurately. Third, potential to generate rich snippets in search results, which are those enhanced listing that significantly boost your through rate. Fourth, ultimately This clarity improves ranking and visibility because search engine favors well structured, understandable content. Now, side by side SEO example is the most compelling argument. Without semantic HTML, you would use a generic div. The search bot guesses this is navigation based on the ID. With semantic, you can simply use the nav tag. The bot knows this is a navigation area. The semantic version provides zero ambiguity. It's faster for the crawler, more accurate for the algorithm, and better for your rankings. This is a simple, free SEO win you can implement today. Our next slide is practical code. Let's start let's stop talking about it and start coding it. This is a practical code example that demonstrates a completely semantic blog page. This is what you should be writing. We start with the header tag, our site wide intro. Inside that, we place the h1 tag for the main title, my blog, and the navigation tag, which contain all our site links. Moving down, the main tag immediately tells the browser this is the unique content of this page. Inside main, we use the article tag, which signifies a self contained piece of content, our blog post. Note the clear hierarchy with the h2 tag for the article title. Finally, we close out the structure with the footer for copyright information. The output on the right shows a result, a clean modern layout, but what the output doesn't show is the incredible value under the hood. By using header, nav, main, article, and footer tags, we explicitly define the purpose of every major block of content. This combination of proper structure and visual design is the hallmark of a professional developer. Now, the advantages of HTML5. To bring it all together, let's recap the 5 fundamental advantages of a semantic HTML5. This is your answer when anyone asks why they shouldn't just use divs tag. First, improves SEO. The clear structure ensures higher search rankings and better visibility. Second, better accessibility. It creates an inclusive web by providing necessary context for the screen readers. Third, cleaner code. Semantic tags are self explanatory, making the code much easier to read, debug, and maintain, which saves your team time and money. Fourth, cross browser compatibility. Since these are core W3C standards, they are universally supported by all modern browsers. Fifth and the last, future proof. By sticking to standards, your code remains relevant and less likely to break with future updates, web updates. These advantages are non negotiable in the modern web development landscape. They transform your HTML5 from a generic container into a meaningful document. Now, let's finalize our thoughts on this transformation. So, the final conclusion is quite clear. Semantic HTML is the core of modern web development. Let's summarize the 4 core ideas we have covered. First, semantic HTML makes website meaningful, structured, and inherently accessible. It is the foundation of quality. Second, it helps developers write clean, organized codes, leading to a faster, less error prone development process. Third, it supports search engines, SEO, and all users, leading to a better, more equitable web experience for everyone. Fourth, and the last conclusion that we have is it's essential for modern web development. It ensures you're building sites that adhere to current and future web standards. You can also look at the central graphic that I have added, that SEO, HTML, and accessibility. These 3 pillars are interconnected, and semantic HTML5 is the glue that holds all of them together. It's not just an option, it's a prerequisite for high quality work. The beyond the checklist of benefits, beyond SEO and accessibility, semantic HTML represents with something deeper, intentionality. When you use a generic div tag, you are saying this is a box. But when you use an article or navigation tag, you are saying this is a standalone piece of content. and this is how you move around my site. This intentional declarative coding is what makes your projects professional. It creates a clearer contract with every piece of software that interacts with your website, from Google's crawler to a screen reader, and even with your future self who has to maintain the code months from now. When code is self describing, it drastically cuts down on confusion and development time. This small change will have an immediate positive impact on your project's technical health. Remember, the best code isn't just code that works, it's code that communicates its purpose clearly. This is the definition of semantic HTML. Thank you so much for watching.